Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros MLB. This is the Fantasy Baseball Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and Welsh. In just a few days, we are going to have baseball that counts. I'm so happy. We've got a weekend of some news. Christian Campbell, first of all, looks like he's going to get that starting base job. And Shane McClanahan looks like he might have averted absolute just disaster. I think this was the best case scenario considering when he left that mound, that it's a tricep nerve issue. It's not an elbow issue in that sense or anything like that. So the hope is some rest, recovery. Maybe he ramps up in a month or two. We'll see what it is, but at least it's not something where you go, oh my God, the season's over. So a sigh of relief there and an upside opportunity for a young prospect that about 8 weeks ago, we were just talking with Jeff Ponce and he was saying Christian Campbell could very well be the starter. And guess what? That handsome SOB was right.
Yep. And log day 472, there's still no news on Jared Jones. And will Jared Jones be out for the season or not? We all wait with bated breath if Jared Jones will play. That's the third piece of news. We still have no idea. But yes, the Christian Campbell one feels pretty good because that's a good vindication of what we've been saying for a long time on this show. And Jeff Ponce was kind of one of the first to say, like, hey, listen, they're giving him every opportunity. And there was also every opportunity to be against it because of Alex Bregman's signing. The Alex Bregman signing made it really, really seem dicey. So I'm very excited about the Christian Campbell one. That gets me all hot and bothered. And the Shane McClanahan one, though, we have a video on the channel that was like Shane McClanahan cover because we're building around him and he's looked so good. And when his arm, when he threw, his arm just went and jolted, and then he grabbed it. I went, oh no!
You know, the interesting thing that I thought when it happened, because I saw it when it was going on too, and he would pitch really well going up into there, but he immediately bent his arm and put his pitching hand on his waist, which immediately said to me, I don't think this is an elbow thing. I think this is something else, because if it's the elbow, you see guys, it's straight. They hold it out straight and they have that weird, that dead arm kind of thing. That was my initial reaction. So I'll be honest.
It just didn't matter. He grabbed his arm.
It didn't look good.
I had an absolute panic attack for it. And I will say this. I will say this. It is one more small reminder for the crew of the Bogmans of the world, the people that are like, I want no part of any injury. This is different, but this is a guy that was out like all last season. He's coming in with injury. And there are so many of those players this year. We're going to talk about at least two of them on this. It's just a reminder if you're like a little weak in the stomach, and like that makes you queasy to take those risks. That's kind of the inherent stuff. At least this wasn't a re-aggravation of the injury, but good reminder. Good reminder.
It is. Also a reminder, we're going to be live for opening day here on Twitch. Make sure you subscribe. And we're welcoming everyone here to twitch.tv/fantasypros. That's the place to be for leading off live. So join us starting on Thursday, every single day, noon Eastern. This is the place to interact with us. Of course, we'll be on the YouTube channel. We want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. So the show will be here live and then immediately uploaded to the YouTube channel. Join us there because we have got, we're getting real close to 25,000 subscribers there. We are right there and we want to hit that number by opening day. I think we can squeeze it in, Welsh. If not, it's going to be real close, but
it'll be dicey.
I'm looking for all of you. I'm looking at all of you. Today, we're looking at league winners. That's the topic of today's show. And a lot of these names we've talked about before. So we're going to go through a lot of these names pretty quickly because we do know that if you're a watcher of the show, that you know that these are guys that we love. We're also, I think, on opening day, Welsh, we're going to do our all Welsh, all Joe team, which is, I guess, like the players that we love the most this year. So that should be very entertaining. And as a sidebar, I have not purchased any new Mets gear, I don't know, in a decade. Maybe even more. No, because I hated the Wilpons. It was such a miserable thing. A couple weeks ago, I bought a hat and a shirt arrived today. So wow. I guess I'm in. I guess I'm all in.
Well, two things in here. I actually have, maybe on opening day, I'll show it. I showed it to you. I have a piece of Mets gear that was sent to me. That's a kind of funny piece. But also, I think it was Michael in here said, Welsh not treating us to like cool different hats on.
Yeah, I saw that.
This is going to, I swear to God, this is going to sound like a cop-out and a fake thing. But my dog, we have a new dog-ish dog, is eating all of my hats. I'm not, I wish I was joking. I have 3 or 4 hats this dog has absolutely destroyed. I'm going to need a hat sponsor this year. I'm
You
gonna
gonna buy that one with the oyster on it? You buy that one?
I would probably wear that. Yeah, maybe the new Texas one. That's a little bit more my speed, even anything else, the new Texas one. But I'm gonna need some type of hat sponsor.
Look at the trolls
to bring
here.
some new ones.
Info in the chat. Reed Garrett, get out of here. Go sit down. All right, let's get to the league winners. Before we do, quick shout out to, we're still giving away free stuff. John Small's jersey could be yours. All you have to do is subscribe to the Fantasy Pros MLB YouTube channel. Again, this is from pristineauction.com. It's real, it's authentic, and it's fantastic. All you got to do to win this bad boy, subscribe and comment below on this or any video. That's it. That's all you got to do. And make sure you turn on those notifications, ring that bell till it goes ding, so you never miss a single solitary second of our content here at Fantasy Pros MLB. And we can alert you if you are the big winner of the prize of the John Smoltz jersey. Welsh, we're going to do this countdown style 10-1 today. So why don't you kick things off, starting with number 10 on your list for league winners?
I need to get one of those pins that when we get to one, like Letterman, like number one.
Number one.
Yeah, coming in at number 10. It's a dicey thing. We're talking about league winners. So obviously, I think these players, in my mind, they've got to be categorically, even if it's just one or two spots, so categorically dominant, they destroy their ADP, or, they literally place into being a league winner. So this was actually an easy one. This is one of the first ones I put on here. Coming in at number 10 with a low ADP. Can they win your league like full on at every single category? No, but this player could be back into the heavy stolen base market. I'm going at number 10, Victor Scott II with the St. Louis Cardinals. Victor Scott has made the team out of camp. This is what we wanted. I'm so excited. He is the center fielder. This is coming off of a phenomenal spring where he hit 350, 4 homers. Him and Jacob Wilson, by the way, a couple non-big power guys putting up some big power numbers, attempted 7 stolen bases, stole 5, almost an even 8-9 walk to strikeout ratio. The power is the big key. 7 extra base hits of his 15, and he's a guy that can steal 50. So you're talking about being able to win your league if you really kind of pared down on power and you missed out. Yep. Victor Scott is the freest, cheapest version of being able to get you that speed. And check this out. If he ends up getting into that 12 to 14 home run market, watch out, because now you actually might be looking at a player that is 3.5 to maybe even 5 full categories of playing. So Victor Scott has all the makings of a league winner, and he's my number 10.
And those joining us, I see your questions. We'll get to some of those in between here. Here's one head-to-head points league from Imcobo. Minus a strikeout, do I take Teoscar Hernandez or James Wood? Look, I love James Wood, but Teoscar in that lineup, he's a 3,100 guy. I mean, that's what I want James Wood to be, because it was Roto. I might feel differently to the steals, but I'm taking Oscar. How about you? I don't know. I feel like everything's fine on my end. I see you fine. I guess you're making puppet noises at me and faces.
You got a little puppet. We almost had Puppet Joe.
Well, I'll reiterate here. No puppet noises. Strikeouts minus. I'm taking Teoscar. He's already had a 3,100 season. James Wood, if it was Roto, I might feel differently, but give me the proven guy in Teoscar.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, because it's points. I'm going to go with Teoscar. Say Teoscar doesn't not strike out, but the home run market, RBIs, it's Teoscar in a points league.
In a daily league that allows 15 starts a week from SPs, who has more upside, Smith Shawver, Fitz, or Dustin May? Welsh, why don't you take this one first?
Ooh, I am going to say these are actually really good names. I'm going to say Dustin May, just simply because of the Dodgers. Yeah, maybe I worry that he goes deep into games, but I think the whole idea of pushing to, the 6 starters, or, pushing starts in general, will be that he can go deeper into games. So I'll go with Dustin May, but all of those are really good choices.
All right, number 10 on my list at ADP of 343 overall, Kyle Manzardo. You've heard me talk about him before, hitting after Jose Ramirez. Now, I know the strikeouts have been bountiful. He's got 16 strikeouts in 52 plate appearances in the spring, but he also has 3 homers, 7 RBI. He's at 306, a 346 OBP, a 571 slugging, and 918 OPS. Look, we've been waiting for this guy for a while to pop off, and it feels like we're finally getting that dude. And, the Rays, make their choices at certain times. You look at the minor league track record. This guy hit 280. He always had a good OBP, 388 for his career in the minor leagues, a 544 slugging percentage. So there's a lot to like when it comes to Manzardo. He just needs to be left alone in this spot. Now, if he has a slow start, don't freak out, because he's been so hot this spring. Sometimes you see that. The guys who start off spring red hot, they get into April, and it's baseball, so it's a game of streaks, where all of a sudden the streak goes brown a little bit. Just stay patient. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Kyle Manzardo, he's number 10 on my list of league winners. Number 9 for the Welsh. What do you got?
I don't like your streaks. Those are not the streaks that I want. But coming in at number 9 is the Houston Astros' new right fielder, Cam Smith. Again, we were talking about league winners. Well, absolutely free is a first piece of this. As much as I love Victor Scott, and I really do think, if you have a high batting average, some chipped in homers, the big stolen bases, like that can play a really big piece in there. But Cam Smith has got a 4 to 5 category potential in play here. I am shocked. I guess they haven't like confirmed, but it looks like he is going to be the right fielder. And even if he didn't, he would be up pretty soon. But absolutely phenomenal spring, hitting over 400. I think there's legitimate shots to even move up in this lineup. You've got RBI, you've got run, you've got potential batting average. That I think could tick down a little bit. The homers look like in play, and we'll see where the stolen bases go. But because he's absolutely free, and he's going to qualify at third base and then move into the outfield, Cam Smith really has the potential to be probably a starter at third base, a top 12 third baseman this year, and that outfield qualification could change a lot of it. So we got to watch out because rookies last year had some really bad early struggles, whether it was Langford or Jackson Churio. So you got to hold tight. But I think when the season is done, Cam Smith could look like a league winner because he was free 99.
Sure was. And I feel like we were the first show to really jump on this bandwagon, doing short videos about him, all kinds of stuff. That's why you watch. Here's one from Michael. I've been seeing lots of Gavin love from you guys. When Strider goes on the IL, do I grab Gavin for the spot or Scherzer? It's Gavin 100%. I mean, it's not even close. The fact that he's not drafted is kind of insane. Maybe it was a very early draft. I don't know. Here's one maybe. From Arnold? Ronald, Shaggy, Cam Smith, or Connor Norby at third?
Cam Smith.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, let's get to number 9 on my list. And again, league winners, this is about guys that you can get that are going to make significant impacts, right? And I feel like, it's funny. Welsh took one of my guys in Cam Smith, so I'm going to take one of his old guys that I feel like he's abandoned a little bit, which is Jeffrey Springs, because I think that going to the Athletics, Jeffrey Springs has an opportunity here to have his rotation spot. It's going to be his. He's more removed from the surgery. I know last year we were anticipating that comeback, and it, kind of fell short of expectations. 7 starts, only threw 33 innings, but the strikeout to walk ratio was there, 37 strikeouts to just 11 walks in 2024. So that to me is the most important thing. And I think that the Rays were in a spot where they just had younger guys, the Pepiots, the Bozes of the world that they want to get in that rotation. So they are constantly churning and burning. I don't think this is a red flag situation. I just think this is an age and money situation where they got rid of Springs, and to the benefit of the Athletics, who I think are going to give him some run support. So do I love the outdoor ballpark factor? Not necessarily, but at the same time, if Springs goes back to looking anything like the guy he was right before he got hurt a couple years ago, where he was unbelievable for the first 3 starts of 2023, Welsh looked like the biggest genius on the planet when he was all in on Springs, and then unfortunately injury struck. But if he gets back to being anything close to that, considering the ADP this guy's going at of 276 overall, if he ends up being your number 3 in your rotation, that is a huge win for you. Welsh, give me number 8 on your league winner list.
All right, coming in at number 8, we are going to my first pitcher, and we are going to play a Walgreens version of Michael King from last season, and that is my hope. Going at number 8 with Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes is transitioning from reliever to starter. Had a very, again, this is, you know, be careful about it, but this is a guy that's had a phenomenal spring that he's carrying over, where he got 5 starts, or got into 5 games at least, over 19 innings, struck out 23, walked 8, only gave up 2 earned runs in spring, had a sub-1 whip. Actually, like a sub 0.8 whip was really solid. He's super interesting because you're going to get fastball sinker. It's going to be a sinker with a slider and a sweeper that he's throwing out a whole bunch. And that slider and sweeper have just different characteristics. The slider's a little bit more gyro-y. The sweeper's obviously the bigger loopy pitch. But both of those pitches last season had big whiff numbers and pretty big strikeout numbers. The slider, 39% K percentage, over 43% from the sweeper. And he's taking that into a starting role. It's kind of similar to the same trajectory that Michael King went. So, you know, he's sneaky in some spots because he's a reliever. He's going past 200s. He looks like he's going to be one of the most important catalysts in the rotation for the Mets, and he's got big strikeout stuff. So if it can maintain, if this spring can 90% hold, Clay Holmes is going to be a guy that you're going to get as your, quote unquote, like SP6 that could probably put up SP3 numbers. So, I think he's the type of guy that whether you took shots or whether you played it safe, he could be that winner in that rotation that just absolutely blows past. Because as they say, you can't win or lose your league in the first or second round, but you've got to have some points where things are going to work out in your favor. And Clay Holmes is one of those guys that can, I think, change the trajectory of your rotation if things break the right direction this year.
He's been so good. It's funny, in my home league, it's 14 teams. He got kept. Actually, somebody picked him up last year, and they actually kept him for $10 this year. And after the spring he's had, I can't argue with that reasoning. I can't at all. How funny is that, too? Like, the Yankee fans have to watch Soto on the Mets and then Clay Holmes be an ace for a couple months.
What if Clay Holmes is the one that they're just complaining about more than anybody?
Oh, of course, Eric, because he's a guy that cost some games, at times last year. So it was so much of that. This is funny too for Michael. Mom, I want Michael King. We have Michael King at home, and that would be Clay Holmes. So there you go. Let's go to that geek, Troy. So I have Rooker locked into my util, Vinny Pasquantino, Toglia, and Yanier. I'm looking to add a bat, I assume not a bar, unless you're trying to redo the basement downstairs.
Kind of early.
To eventually trade Manzardo, Wells, or Rice. Wells has had a little flourish to the end of spring, hitting some balls all over the place. I think Wells would be the guy for me, to tell you the truth, just because, catchers who can hit, few and far between. What about you, Wells, Rice, or Manzardo?
I'm surprised you went against your boy Manzardo. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Wells guy.
It's only because it's like, look, Wells is going to lead off for that team possibly too, which is also not something you see from catchers.
Yeah. No, Wells is my pick.
Okay, look at that. Look at me and Welsh coming together at the end of the days. All right, number 8, it's another pitcher. I got a lot of pitchers on this list because I feel like the pitchers are where you can find your league winners. And for me, it's Jesus Luzardo, another guy not that far removed from a very good season. In 2023, a 3.58 ERA, 32 starts, struck out 200 guys and walked just 55. And in spring, I don't care that the whip is high, and I don't care if his ERA is high. All I care about in spring is your strikeout to walk rate. That's what I care about. Are you missing bats? Are you getting outs? The rest is guys working on crap. So far, 16 strikeouts, just 3 walks over 12 innings. That to me is a big green flag when it comes to Luzardo. And that Philly team is going to give him so much more run support, better defense, better pizza. Jesus Luzardo, the whole thing. It's all going to be there for him this year. And if it's not, you can cut him, because the cost is ridiculous. It's just $243. We've talked about this a million times, so I don't want to belabor the point. But if Jesus Luzardo finds his 2023 form, he is going to win 15 games for the Phillies. Lock it up, especially with the bullpen being a little bit improved, I think, year over year too. And that, my friends, makes him a league winner. Number 7 on the list for the Welsh. Talk to me.
Number 7 is a guy that I've been talking about since day one, Michael Toglia. That G is very, very confusing, but his stat line will not be, because it is going to be lower batting average, but with massive homers. We've talked a lot about not necessarily needing to chase, because it's actually an interesting dynamic, because Victor Scott is that stolen base later. You don't need to chase stolen bases like we did in the past. You can find it a little bit later. Maybe that can mute some players' values. A guy like Xavier Edwards is like skyrocketed up because he could steal 40 plus, but some of those outfielders haven't. Victor Robles hasn't. Victor Scott is kind of like the cheaper Victor Robles in that lane. But what's the thing we're pushing to? We're pushing to power. So try to find power later in drafts. I've had a couple drafts where I went really heavy power early in, and then I'm chasing stolen bases. But you just don't find 35 plus home run power late in drafts. You find it at stolen bases. So how about a guy that is almost going outside the top 200 that has 35 to 40 home run potential? He didn't reach that last year because he hit only 218, but he had 25 homers in 399 at bats. So a full season, you want to play the extrapolation game, you can see over 30. He had an expected batting average that was around 240, and he has had a spring that's been pretty great. Now, he always has good springs, I want to point out. He hit 273. He's hit 5 homers. He has never hit under 286 in spring over 4 seasons. So, don't take that too much to heart. But the expected batting average telling us a bit of a different story in a great hitter-friendly environment. I just really don't see guys outside the top like 175. If there are, there's a small little handful of players that legitimately can hit more than 35 homers. Michael Toglia is that. And if he does, that's league-winning stuff for power that you just can't find really late in drafts.
Agreed. All right, next on my list, guess what? It's another pitcher. There will be some more offensive players, fear not. We will get to them, but it's a big pitcher list for me. And another one at 224 overall in ADP is Brandon Woodruff. Woodruff made his first return not that long ago now on the mound in spring training. He's going to start the year on the IL. That's fine. That's what we want. He's coming back from that anterior capsule surgery. Velocity was good in that first start. It was up to 95. That is a good sign. He's got to build up his strength. And I don't want him pitching the month of April, really. I mean, if he comes back by the end of the month, okay, great. But I want to slow play this, especially if I'm the Milwaukee Brewers or if I'm a fantasy manager, because the last thing you want is Woodruff pushed too soon in games in April where the weather is tricky sometimes and things of that nature. You want him to be out there when he's 100% ready. And then if he gives you 5 solid months, let's not forget, once again, Brandon Woodruff, very good. In fact, dominant at times. 30 starts in 2021. He threw 179 innings, struck out 211 guys. In 27 starts in 2022, struck out 190 guys. Both years, a whip right around 1. So this isn't a good pitcher. This is a great pitcher. Sure, it's risky, but it looks like every pitcher is risky. So why not mitigate that risk by taking guys later in ADP? Luzardo, Clay Holmes. We're talking about Brandon Woodruff. These are guys that all have the potential to end up as front of the rotation fantasy starters. And if Woodruff regains that form, guess what? He's going to be just that again. So here's one from Nuckin. Is Toglia Timu Schwarber? There you go. That's a fun one from Nuckin.
That's probably a really, really good example. I've never ordered from them, though. They scare me.
No, me neither. I'm scared, too. And now that I've said their name out loud, I'm sure I'm going to see 5,000 ads on my social media.
Check your phone in 2 minutes. You're going to have it.
Oh, the worst. Let's go to JF here. Dynasty head-to-head points league. Grade the trade. Received Trout, Fairbanks, Stroman, Weatherhold, sent Gossman, Lauder, and Bradley.
I mean, you fleeced them. People could question Trout, but I'm not super big into big pitching trades in Dynasty or having trades where you're getting all the pitchers. And this time you moved away. You traded a couple good young pieces in Bradley and Lauder, but you got Mike Trout for this year. You also got JJ Weatherhold, who's a great Dynasty pick. You did great. All
right, number 6 on our list. Welsh, kick it off.
Number 6, I'm going to the pitching market. I'm going to a Phillies pitcher. That's not Jesus Luzardo. No, we're going to Cristopher Sanchez. Cristopher Sanchez, who has had, again, I'm not trying to do hyper focus on it, but like these are guys that have had great springs that are hoping to carry it over. But he also had a great year last year, 180 innings, a 3.32 ERA, carried that into this season with a 1.62 spring ERA, gave up only 3 earned runs. And here's the big key. 16 innings, struck out 19. Last season, low strikeouts. It was a 20% K percentage with a little over a 5% walk rate. It's not horrible or anything like that. It's getting into the Brandon Wu territory, but he added that cutter that he's looking to, he's put in all spring, and it looks like that's starting to reap some good strikeout results. Cristopher Sanchez's stuff is the type where if he can add strikeouts, it's kind of like Brian Wu. If you added like 26, 27% K percentage, you're talking about a guy that could be top 15. Mm-hmm. And that's where Chris Sanchez is going. Also, projections have been very, very heavy on him. If you look, he's a top 25 WAR pitcher off of BAT and ATC. And on ATC, tied for the 3rd most wins in baseball. So you look at a guy with low ERA, potential strikeout increase, who gets massive innings on a great team. You said Luzardo could win 15. If I had to put a bet down, I would say Chris Sanchez is the guy that might touch that 15. So we both picked 2 Phillies pitchers. It's great team context. I think Sanchez is the guy that could fly up those SP ranks. He has moved up quite a bit from like January, but he is still in a pretty good cost range, and he could be a league winner for your rotation.
Who wins that division? Mets, Phillies, Braves? Braves are the top right now in terms of Vegas. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
I think like my immediate, well, okay, if Spencer,
my gut says Phillies. Like
I was going to say Phillies, but if Spencer Strider is back and Acuna can get back, like they're going to be impossible. Like that team is going to be so tough. And I think they still have assets to make a trade. But if you've got Sale and Strider, like just that 1-2 combo is going to be ridiculous. I don't know. That's really, really tough. I'm going to say Phillies right now because they're healthy and they've got all those pieces. But that actually might be the best like 3 bang, bang, bang for a division that's out there.
especially now that the Yankees have had all those injuries.
Yeah, exactly.
The East looks
exactly
so
right.
different in the American League. All right, next on my list, coming in at number 6. Don't worry, we'll take a break from pitchers in a second, but not now. It's Sean Manaea. He's already throwing from 90 feet. Last year, a breakout season from Sean Manaea, 181 innings, 184 strikeouts, 63 walks, had an ERA of 1.08. A whip of 1.08, an ERA of 3.47. The FIP was right around, in the neighborhood of the ERA. The adjustments he made were real, and the offense around him is real. This is a really good lineup, especially when Alvarez comes back healthy too. My God, this is going to be really tough to face this Mets lineup. So to me, this is all just about patience, and the ADP has fallen obviously because of the injury, 217. If he's throwing at 90 feet now, the ramp up, I imagine Welsh are probably going to get him over the next couple weeks. I anticipate having him back. I would say probably after Easter would be my guess of Sean Manaea that week. I think you can ramp him up potentially that quickly. And I think the Mets kind of need to. So for me, Manaea is one of these guys. It's a need factor. He seems like everything's going okay. Barring any setbacks, you're in good shape. Remember, this was a oblique issue. It wasn't an arm issue. So there's no reason to think the sky is falling here with Sean Manaea. So I'm back in on Sean Manaea. It brings us to our top 5. So we got 10 more guys on our list of 20 league winners. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure you subscribe to FantasyPros MLB on the YouTube channel too. And of course on Twitch at twitch.tv/FantasyPros. Welsh, let's get to the top 5 here. Kick us off. Who is your number 5?
Number 5, we're going to the outfield and we're going to the Cubs. And I actually had a couple Cubs that could have probably gotten this 5 spot, but I'm going to go with Pete Crow-Armstrong. Not even someone that I'm like the biggest on in the world, but I've definitely been kind of turning face simply because yes, you have a fantastic spring where he put together, hitting 3 homers. He was hitting like 500, stealing bases, but you also look, if that bat is the thing that's going to continue, that's the game changer. That's the ultimate game changer for Pete Crow, because Pete Crow can fly. Pete Crow has some underlying hitting metrics that are not the greatest in the world. 7% barrel, under 40% hard hit rate, but he's lowering his strikeouts. He's making a bunch more contact. And if that at the end of the day really does come together, you're looking at some projections that could put him close to 2030, a catalyst for this Cubs offense, which I think is going to be pretty high flying. So I think Pete Crow in this, can these guys be 5-tool? He has a legitimate shot to be a 5-tool player, and he's carrying over a really great second half. He hit 262 in the second half of last season, aggressive stolen bases. If he puts up a 2030 season, that is going to push right around like 3rd or 4th round value. And it's at worst going to be, it could be 4 high categories. I don't know where the RBI are going to go, but he could move up the lineup. But at this point, Pete Crow, where he's going kind of later in drafts, definitely looks like he's got the makings of being a league winner.
All right. League winner potentially there for Pete Crow-Armstrong, a guy that I've talked about as well. Number 5 on my list, Jackson Holliday. And that brings us to this week's Chasing Challenges, brought to you by Microsoft. Just like the athletes who push boundaries and redefine what's possible in business, decision makers today are turning challenges into opportunities, and Microsoft meets you where you are with tools and guidance to help you make an impact with safe, secure AI solutions. So whatever the challenges you are facing, Microsoft empowers you with the expertise to say, bring it on. And in this segment, we spotlight the challenge faced by fantasy managers learning to love Jackson Holliday again. Welsh, I remember a simpler time. Oh, it was back in 2024. I think it was March. Maybe it was April. It was spring. And it was a beautiful time where Jackson Holliday was the top guy for Rookie of the Year on the board. And everybody was falling all over themselves to draft Jackson Holliday, the number 1 overall pick just a few years prior. And then at just 20 years old, well, he didn't hit right away, and he got sent back down, and everybody lost the love of Jackson Holliday. And now he is still just a boy, and he is still got so much upside. And for some reason, Jackson Holliday is a player that I see everywhere having a hard time buying back into. Now, I don't know why. I'm not sure exactly what happens sometimes where you get these players where people just completely lose their minds and lose faith. But when you look at what he's done in the minor leagues, you look at the adjustments he's made this offseason, and then you look at what he's doing this spring. And I know last year was a good spring too. 866 OPS, a 333 batting average. He does have a homer. He's got 5 stolen bases. If you're looking for a league winner, how about the ADP of Jackson Holliday at second base, a position that none of us really love, at 183, nearly 200 overall. So it's funny to me, Welsh, going back to last year, his ADP was still higher than it is this year. And to me, I'm far more confident in him this year succeeding and being set up for success with the adjustments he's made. So Jackson Holliday for me could be a league winner. And that's this week's Chasing Challenges segment. Remember, Microsoft AI solutions empower you to take bold steps and new ideas to help drive your new business forward. With Microsoft as your trusted partner, you can navigate any journey with confidence, finding innovative solutions and reaching new possibilities. Visit Microsoft.com/challengers to learn more. Let's learn more about number 4 on Welsh's list, shall we?
Also a young player who is going to be up for potential rookie of the year. I think those are a good recipe sometimes for league winners. There's been a lot of strikeouts, but there's still a lot of counting stats. Number 4 for me is Jasson Dominguez with the New York Yankees. I actually struggle between him and Dylan Cruz. I think both of those guys kind of flow in there. But, Dominguez in that hitting environment could really be a game changer. And there's a part of me that wonders, could he have a same or similar Jackson Churio trajectory where it's a little bit slow starting? Like I said, the spring strikeouts have been kind of there. Batting average has been there, homers and power. But that's the thing. Like he is the epitome of a 5-tool player. When he's hitting, he's going to hit closer to middle. And this lineup, he could hit closer to a middle of the order of the lineup where he could potentially move up. There's big homers. He's going to score runs. He's aggressive on the base paths. The batting average is going to be a big key. And I do think there is a potential worry that early on, maybe things could have a tiny bit of a struggle, but there's a commitment to Jasson Dominguez this season. I love the ballpark factors. We've seen some big homers in his short stints out here. And when you look at some of the projections we've got on screen here on the video side, you can see, some are more optimistic than others, but you're toying around with 2020 in some instances, maybe even pushing 2030. So Jasson Dominguez doesn't have the fervor of a lot of young guys in how high they're going, but I think he could be a league winner if things start to click. So that is the rookie that I went at number 4.
Now there's some demand in the chat, and I had to explain this to our producer, Michael Calley, because, leading off is its own little cult sometimes. And Jackson Holliday is a favorite of the show. So can we get a look at Jackson Holliday? Oh boy, look at me. I'm having a great spring. Don't give up on me quite yet. I had a 400 on base percentage in the minor leagues. Oh, don't forget about me. Oh, gee whiz. I'm going to be so excited to play Major League Baseball. Boy, oh boy.
My dad was Matt Holliday.
Yeah, my dad played for the Rockies. Do you remember the Rockies when they were good? Hardly anybody does. That was a long time ago. The Rockies were good. Just saying. I don't think the Rockies could ever win anything. All right, let's get back to the, there you go. A little Jackson Holliday for everybody. We love the Jackson Holliday. Let's get to number 4 on my list here. Number 4 for me, guess what? We're back to the pitchers. It's Ryan Pepiot, and now that McClanahan is out, well, you know what? Ryan Pepiot is definitely locked into rotation spot if there was any concern. 3-1 strikeout to walk ratio last year. Pepiot, to me, is ready to take that next step. If you look at where he's at in terms of ADP, still at 175 Welsh. I think he's consistent. I like his delivery. I like his approach. I like his demeanor. I like everything about him. The moving to the outside, the only thing I wish is for Caminero, I want him to be outside out of that ballpark. For all the pitchers, I want to be back in that old ballpark, but that's, who knows, it might never happen. But what I do know is this: Ryan Pepiot is ready for the big time. We're going to look back on this season, I think, for Pepiot and say, this guy was being drafted way too late considering the skill set. And I think we're going to look back and say, man, we should have been more aggressive on him. A lot of people, not me, I'm pretty aggressive on him, and I think you should be too. Let's get to the next one on the list here. Top 3 territory. I got some big names on my list, Welsh. I know you've got some big names as well. Let's get to a couple questions here. Does Ranger Suarez make it to the top 3 here? Is another Phillies starting pitcher to be talked about? Spoiler alert, he did not. But we like Ranger Suarez. We like him here. We're a fan. All right. Here's look at this. And a first-timer, Jerry, friend of the show, making it to Twitch with us. Jerry, glad you're making that switch over. Are we concerned about Francisco Lindor's bad spring? Not at all. Not for me. Could care less. The veterans, I never care about spring. It's guys that have something to prove for me, Welsh.
Yeah,
are you scared at all? No.
No, I mean, and I will. I've admitted this. Like, I think a bad thing about spring for a lot of us is like, You take the good and it confirms like, okay, cool, things are working well. You take the bad and you're just like, nah, don't worry about it.
What is
But
that, like in this life? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, in this instance, I'm not worried about Lindor specifically, though. Like, maybe like the elite players and their struggles, it's not something I'm gonna take with.
Does Rasmussen uptick? This is a good question with the McClanahan injury. I think absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Early on.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a good spring, and I worry about like, what the bottom of the rotation looks like. And I will say, like, you pick two guys that are going to be in minor league ballparks this year with, Springs and Pepiot, which might make them values. Rasmussen is going to be in the same spot, but yeah, no, I think he gets an uptick.
Half the games are on the road. Still, which still is tough for Pepiot, but not as bad necessarily for Mr. What was it, Springs there earlier. All right, let's get top three here. And I mean, there's not a Welsh list that doesn't have this guy on it.
Yeah, this will be on the show we do on Thursday. This is the guy, but it's more than just one of my favorite players. I still hold firm. I think obviously a lot of people agree with me. Coming in at number 3, a league-winning pitcher, Spencer Schwellenbach. Of course, Schwellenbach, ADP can vary when he gets up into the 60s. This isn't like a ADP necessarily value conversation, but when you're talking about league winners, you do want to have some separation because like Ellie De La Cruz is a league winner, but it's a first round pick. He comes up and down, but Schwellenbach going anywhere between the 60s and 90s also proves a really good point. And outside the top 20 SPs, that the reason he could be a league winner is because he has a legitimate shot that he could crack the top 10. And I've kind of talked about it ad nauseum, but low barrel rate against, low walk rate, is like Brian Woo-ish, 4.6% walk rate, but he had good K percentage, 25, almost 26% K percentage. And he's got an arsenal of pitches. I think we could see more split finger this year. He throws 5 pitches, 10% or more of the time. Fastball ticks in the mid 90s. He's had a phenomenal spring. It's showing it off. He looks more consistent. And I think Schwellenbach really does have the opportunity to jump up. So I think, from a league winning standpoint, you want your SP3s to be SP3s, but this is an SP3 or 4 that can be an SP1. So I think Spencer Schwellenbach, I've been pretty clear about this for 5 or 6 months. He is a league winner.
At 137, number 3 on my list, Sandy Alcantara. He has given up, how many earned runs this year in spring training? None. He's given up none. That's what he's done. He's been great. Okay. And he is not going to finish the season on the Marlins. Bold prediction there. Somebody's going to come knocking. The need is going to be there. These teams are all in, and there's more teams fighting for playoff spots nowadays than they used to. And this guy's far too valuable. And the Marlins are not competing anytime soon in this division. So the sooner they deal him, the better the haul for prospects will be. If the Mets come calling, if the Yankees come calling, if the Red Sox come calling, if the Orioles decide finally to go calling for a starting pitcher, somebody's going to call this team. Somebody's going to make a move. And the quicker you get Sandy off this team and on yours, the better off a lot of people are going to be. I love this ADP. He's a keeper in my home league too that I talked about that I'm absolutely stoked about. Unfortunately, I also have McClanahan. I took both of them for like a buck or two last year in a rebuild. And I was so excited. And then Saturday afternoon, I was out taking a walk when the McClanahan stuff happened. And I was like Welsh. I would just was continuing to walk and straight into the lake. And that's where I was walking. Yeah, just kept walking and going, this is real life. This is happening. But seriously, Sandy, this is a Cy Young guy. This is a guy who's one of the best pitchers in baseball for a couple years in a row. And then he soldiered through the injury before he ended up having the Tommy John. He looks great. I'm not concerned about restrictions with him. I think we're in a good spot with him, and I am going to invest. And if he is anything close, if he is 80%, 90% of what he was a few years back when healthy, Sandy Alcantara is an absolute league winner. Ace. How many aces are you going to find outside of the top 100 ADP? Not many. All right, Welsh, 2 more names on the list. Who are they for you? Number 2.
This is the biggest pitcher that is a league winner, and this guy was going outside the top 20 SPs. Still is dicey. There are rankers that have him in the 40s, in the 30s. Some of us have pushed him into the 20s. The number 1 pitcher, because my number 1 is going to be a hitter, but so number 2 overall, number 1 pitcher is also an Atlanta Brave, Spencer Strider. Of course, Spencer Strider, who's had multiple spring starts, looked fantastic. The only thing that we've cared about this spring starts is that he's out there, is that he's getting going. He had 4 innings. He struck out 10 in 4 innings over 2 games. He walked 1. We saw the stuff. The velo's where it needs to be. The slider is biting. And that's the big key with Spencer Strider, because we got nothing out of him last year. And, a lot of people, like we've said this and people have jumped back into it, where you see the love of a guy like Jacob deGrom, who in, 10-team leagues can be a number 5, or, he's going anywhere between like SP 7 and 12. Spencer Strider is just right there. Spencer Strider obviously has the injury coming into the season. deGrom doesn't. We know deGrom is going to hit the IL. But if Strider ends up pushing those innings, projections are kind of all over the board. You can see on the screen a few of them. I don't know if you can scroll down at all, but there's like 120 on ATC. If he beats those projections, even in a slight way, and gets to 130 or 140, we're talking about Spencer Strider being without question a league winner with dominant stuff. In 2023, a 37% K percentage, a 3.5 walk percentage. They need him more than ever. This to me screams, but there's risk. McClanahan just got hurt, so it's inherent risk here. But if you want to talk about the true meaning of league winner, Spencer Strider absolutely encompasses it, because he can be a number 1 overall starting pitcher. Not like, top 10 or something like that. Like, he can be the most valuable pitcher in fantasy. And we might get him for like 90 to 95% of the season. So it's a pretty easy pick for me with Strider.
Luis Robert is my number 2 at 85 overall. A lot of mine, there's a theme here with a lot of guys on my list, which is I'm old enough to remember when they were great. And I feel like the short-term memory loss of people in fantasy baseball this year in particular is absurd. Let me dial it all the way back to 2023. 38 homers, 20 steals. I mean, it's still at 264. There's a guy who's got even more upside for batting average. So far this spring, he's got 3 homers, and he's hitting, 277 with an 860 OPS. Luis Robert is the guy. And another one where I don't think he finishes the year with the dreadful White Sox. I'm a big lineup protection guy. I know the lineup sucks. He's a superstar guy. They're going to be in a lot of meaningless games. But if he has a good April and May, teams are going to come knocking for this guy. There will be more injuries to other teams. Robert is a bat I could see in Houston making a huge impact potentially if they want to go all in there. Luis Robert has had injury issues in the past. That's why the ADP is suppressed, and last year was a complete nightmare. I get it. But let's not pretend that if he isn't right, if I just give you those stats, Welsh, right? If I say to you, you can have a guy that's going to hit 35 homers, drive in 85, 90 runs, he is a round what player for you? 2, round 3, maybe? You get lucky, you get him round 3.
Oh, you're underselling the stolen bases. What you should say is
steals,
30 stolen bases, 35 homers, that's first round.
I think 30 steals is pushing it. Give me 20 from Robert, and I'm over the moon. And again, it's just a situation where you need to understand Luis Robert does have risk. It's baked into the ADP, but the upside is league winner, which brings us to number 1 on both of our lists. Welsh, your number 1 league winner for 2025 is...
People are going to hate this one. It's Mike Trout. We're going to go back to Mike Trout. League winning is what he's built for. And also league losing, unfortunately, because he is literally never healthy. And it is one way or the other. But here is where the league losing alters just a tiny bit, my friends. He does not cost first, second, third, or fourth round this year. Now, he has moved up a little bit because spring's going. He was going outside of the top 100. He's still pushing in that 100 range. You can see projections have also baked in the injury. He's not hurt right now. He's lost some weight, moved positions, but look at those projections, 400 at bats. It's just 400 at bats across the board. But what are those 400 at bats? And that's 2/3 of a season played. What do those show you? Those show you almost a 30-10 guy. Now, if ifs and buts, candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. If we were to get more of a Mike Trout, you're talking about a 35 to 40 home run season. I really do think it would behoove the team to not let him be aggressive on the base paths, but we did see him aggressive last year. But if they hold that back, maybe that helps the health, but it's the speed that's going to be, or the power that's going to be there. And if that power goes, it could be 40-10. Let's say he's not super hyper aggressive. He didn't even attempt a stolen base in spring so far, but you're talking about 270, 280 batting average, 100 RBI, 90 runs, 35, 40 homers. And he could probably do it in like 450 to 500 at bat. So Mike Trout, there's big caveats here. And unfortunately, league winners, some of these guys are attached to injuries. The first two, the bottom two I'm giving you, the number one pitcher, number one hitter do. But Mike Trout has the makings of it because he is cheaper than it's ever been before. And you can really take on the inherent risks. So that is my pick for the number one league winner.
I like you said league winner and league loser, but I don't think he's as much of a league loser at the current ADP. I agree with you on that. ATC projections has him for 103 games, 27 homers. He hasn't played 107 games except for 2022, where he played 119, and that's since 2019. Obviously, the short season in 2020 doesn't really count, so it's been a while. We'll see if he can do it, but you're right. I mean, especially at this ADP, there's upside for more. I'm going to take another guy who's not going to play a full season. It's Ronald Acuna Jr. because 40-70 guys don't grow on trees. I know I heard Ronald Acuna say, well, I'm going to be easier on the base pass. I've heard this nonsense before. I've seen this movie play out. I've seen it in the NFL with quarterbacks when they get hurt who like to run. They say, yeah, I'm not going to run as much. And then they go out there and they run the same because you can't change who these athletes are. You just can't. It's in their DNA. And Ronald Acuna, so far, all signs are pointing in the right direction. I would expect him back mid-May. And if you are going to look at Mike Trout and Ronald Acuna, I'm going to bet on the 27-year-old who's coming off the knee repair. Second knee repair, but it's a different knee. And I expected both to go at some point. Typically, when you have a guy who has an ACL tear, the other one's not far away. And that happens quite a bit. So it was not surprising to me. It was surprising that it happened so quickly. But 40-70 talent is incredible. Now, do I expect 40-70? Of course not, because he's not going to play that many games. But whereas Welsh is taking Mike Trout, I think in season-long roto leagues, you could take the 100 games of Mike Trout you get and say, that's going to make a big potential impact. I'm saying that if you are in any head-to-head formats where you have playoffs, by the time Acuna really gets up to speed and becomes Ronald Acuna again, and I think he will be, you have, a top 3 overall player? Now, that's a league winner. I would say it's more in those leagues where you have playoffs, more in those head-to-head kind of formats, roto or points. But at the same time, Welsh, you look at the ATC projections for him, they're 116 games, 21 homers, 29 steals. I'll sign up for that. That to me is, again, if you're getting that in a compacted period of time, a huge potential league winner. And I say there's upside for more. People were concerned when he first came back too, that he wouldn't steal bases last time around. And he did. I think with 2 repaired knees, he's going to be fine. I think he's still 30 in 112 or 119 games last time around. So give me Ronald Acuna in the 3rd round. That's where I like him. 2nd round, a little too rich. 3rd round, lock it in. Just to recap, here are the names on our list. For me, it's Manzardo, Springs, Luzardo. I got Luzardo and Manzardo. Woodruff, Manaea, Holliday, Pepiot, Alcantara, Robert, and Acuna. Welsh has Victor Scott, Cam Smith, Clay Holmes, Michael Toglia, Cristopher Sanchez, Pete Crow-Armstrong, Jasson Dominguez, Spencer Schwellenbach, Spencer Strider, Mike Trout. Welsh, hell of a list you put together. Who are your league winners? Drop your comments below on the YouTube channel. We love to hear from you. Also, is the present tense Schwellenbach is the past tense Schwellenbach? I don't know. Drop that answer in the chat too. Is it Schwellenbach? Schwellenbach. I don't know. But I love to hear from our YouTube community. You're the best. Subscribe today. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers by opening day, and we are just days away. And remember, if you do, and you drop a comment below, you might win yourself a John Smoltz jersey. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on for the Welsh. I'm the Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Baseball's coming. Hey, remember when the Rockies were good? That was fun. No, oh, come on.
Ubaldo Jimenez.
Oh, Andres Galarraga, Dante Bichette years.
Mike Hampton.
God, Mike Hampton. That guy was so annoying.
Remember Clint?
When he left the Mets for the Rockies because the schools were better.